value. Absolutely. When you're talking about integers, the notion of absolute value will absolutely come up. So let's take a look at some absolute value ideas. Now, if you recall, the absolute value of a number is kind of like you're standing on a giant number line, and you're standing at, let's say, the number 0 on this giant number line, okay? The absolute value means how many steps does it take to get to a certain number. How many steps does it take to get to a certain number? Now you'll notice whether you're walking in a negative direction or you're walking in a positive direction, you still count the number of steps the same way, right? So if you're standing on this 0 point on this number line and you're walking to negative 19 on the number line, you're going to count how many steps it takes to get to negative 19. And when you count your steps, you will find that it absolutely takes 19 absolute steps to get to negative 19 from 0. And in much the same way, if you start on 0 on the number line and you take the number of steps that it takes to get to 23, it absolutely takes 23 steps to get to the number 23. So now the absolute value of 19 then equals 19. And by the way, it's represented this way, if you remember with the vertical goalposts, right? The absolute value of 23 is 23. So one way to think about this is that the absolute value of a number will always be its positive counterpart if it's negative. And if it's positive, it's just going to be the same number. But practically speaking, this is how it works. Starting at 0, how many absolute steps does it absolutely take to get to that number? Absolutely. So which number has the larger value then? The absolute value of 19 or the absolute value of 23? The absolute value of 23 absolutely has the absolutely larger value than the absolute value of negative 19. Absolutely. This should be pretty easy then. See, you're starting at 0 in both cases, right? Starting at 0. And to get to negative 39 out here, it absolutely takes 39 steps to get to 39. So negative 39. So the absolute value of negative 39 is 39. And if we start at 0 here, and we want to go to negative 42, it takes 42 absolute steps to absolutely get to negative 42. Absolutely. The absolute value of negative 42 then is 42. So which absolute value is absolutely larger than the other one? Negative 42, absolutely. If you saw a problem like this one and you tried to go too fast, it would be very easy to get this one wrong. But armed with a little bit of knowledge that I've just armed you with, it should be very easy to get it right. Starting at 0, you take 104 steps to get to the absolute value of 104. Starting at 0, going down the number line in the opposite direction, it takes 105 absolute steps to get to negative 105. So which one has the larger value? The absolute value of negative 105. Which is a little bit counterintuitive because 105 is bigger than 104, except for this negative, and for the fact that we're looking for the absolute value. That's what makes it bigger. That's the only thing that makes it bigger. Okay? Now, looking at a problem like this can be very confusing. Negative 1 over 10 to the 4th power and negative 1 over 10 to the 5th power. But remember that when you have, well, first of all, these are both going to be negatives. So let's go ahead and put a minus sign. Now, since this is a 1 over situation, that means that the exponent really is a negative, right? It started out as a negative. So if you think about it, 10, and if we do 1, 2, let's see, let's put some zeros out here. 10, 1, whoops, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not sure I'm doing this exactly right, to be honest with you. Now that I had it straight in my mind when I started, and now I'm thinking to myself, that may not be just exactly right. Negative 10 to the fourth power is 0.0010, I believe. 1, 2, 3, or maybe it's this. Whatever the case is, we'll just assume that I'm telling you this correctly, but because either way, no matter how many zeros there are, it winds up being that however many zeros there are on this one's going to have one more zero in front of it. So this one has 3, let's put 4 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 0. Okay, so 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again, I'm not sure if I've got the number of zeros correct, but I do know that this one has one more preceding zero than this one. That I know for a fact. So we'll just go with that because it doesn't change the outcome. And the outcome is that negative 1 over 10 to the fourth power has a larger absolute value than negative 1 over 10 to the fifth power. This is a larger number than this, even though this 5 business will make you think otherwise, okay? Just remember, 0.00001 is smaller than 0.0001. Got it? Okay, I want to try to explain it deeper, but I'm afraid that if I keep going, I'm going to make it more confusing. Just understand this. The more zeros between the decimal and the first significant number, the more zeros between the decimal and the first significant number, the more zeros, the smaller the value. Okay? That's the bottom line there. And I'm going to look into that. Maybe I have to revise this video later, but nevertheless, in terms of absolute value, I'm absolutely sure that this one is your larger number. Absolutely. Stay tuned for part 3, Operations and Simplify. That'll be coming up in the next video. Absolutely.